Art T. Smith, an influential and respected figure in American art, has left an indelible mark through his vibrant neo-pop modernist style that blends traditional techniques with contemporary influences. Now in his mid-50s, Smith reflects on his legacy as one of the leading painters in the United States. Mark, I'm just going to start this interview with a simple, basic question. I'm just going to start slow here. Why do you create art?
I create art because I have a unique ability to bring beauty into the world. And given that gift, there comes the responsibility of sharing it. You know, it's really just that simple. And I think that, the reason the show is called The Third Act is because the acts that have preceded it was, the first act was I was a child, and I drew and painted all the time, and I used it to communicate, but also just for pleasure. And then I matured into a professional working artist where I did commissions for all different kinds of companies and been all over the world and that sort of thing. And now I'm in a new creative phase, this third act, where I went from painting for a living to living to paint. It's just like an inversion. And so the work that I'm making now is, without a doubt, the best work I've ever made in my life, and I feel compelled to share.
So, you called yourself a professional artist, right? So I'm going to go with that, all right? This is not my question I had for you, but as a professional artist, what is your philosophy on not just creating art and selling art and introducing it to the public, but what is your philosophy on the business of art itself?
Large.
That's a loaded gun, right?
Yeah. But for me, I just simplify it, and I think about, like, my motto relative to all of that, or that universe, is just do good work, and let the work speak for itself. And I think the way you get there is by being honest with yourself first and foremost.
Mark, this is an important question for me, because Mills Gallery has kind of prided itself in asking the artists that are here to show a commitment not just to creating good art, but to helping the community. And I know you're going to be able to answer this question very well. How do you help?
I help in several different ways, but I think the two most obvious and notable ways is I've raised $1 million for charities, nonprofits.
$1
$1
million?
million, yeah.
$1 million, wow.
And for a bunch of different charities. I've worked with AMFAR, which is Elizabeth Taylor's AIDS charity. I've worked with Very Special Arts in Washington, D.C., which was an organization that helps individuals with disabilities participate in the arts. And then I've also worked with Operation Smile, which is they travel all around the world and do reconstructive face surgeries, basically, for children. And in that case, I'd raised enough money for them to do one entire mission, which was, I think at the time, was like $200,000 or something.
Where did this idea come from helping on? Was this something that was taught early on, or you just?
Yeah, I think it came from my upbringing, my parents. My dad was involved with Rotary International, which is, they do amazing work at a global scale. And so he was always involved in that. My mom was involved in a bunch of different charities, really around children in the early years. And then later years, it was all about dogs and cats. And then my brother is an author, Keith Martin Smith. He's an amazing author, and he has a book option for a movie and all this sort of thing. But even he gives back. He's a Zen priest, and he gives back by helping people on their spiritual journey. So it's just sort of part of what I grew up doing, what my family does.
I know why helping others is important for an artist. And, in the pre-interview, we're about to go into a kind of a important part of your life, but why is helping others important for you?
Well, because when I didn't help others, when I stopped helping others, my whole life, my career, everything went to shit.
Okay, which brings us to the moment that I very dramatically call, and I'm not making light of this, but it's the downfall of Mark T. Smith. Here we go, right? So I have your permission to ask about this because you've been very honest with me.
Yeah.
This so-called downfall, which was serious.
Yes.
What happened?
Around 2009, 10, I really let my ego take over, and I made a lot of bad decisions because of that. I let a lot of people into my life that I shouldn't have, that had toxic effects on my life and relationships and all that stuff. And I really just sort of spiraled, and then it all blew apart. Like the art thing fell apart. The galleries are gone. Everything was gone.
Because of your behavior.
Yeah, because of the decisions I made, and it was just it was a really hard, difficult time, to be, let's say, on the ascent and then just get sidelined, basically, and it was hard to accept. It was a really hard time in my life to accept, because from when I was a little kid, this is all I ever wanted to do. So it's like having your identity taken away, your purpose taken away. It was really terrible.
But the universe wasn't done with you, huh?
No, unfortunately not. I had a double stroke, and that left me with, I didn't have the ability to talk or walk, hold a utensil. I couldn't write my name. I couldn't write letters. I had to learn all of that stuff over again. And of course, I lost my ability, I lost my skills, evaporated my art skills. And so it was a really scary time to think about. You've lost the career part. Now you lose the skills on top of it. It was terrifying.
So I want to end this conversation by highlighting the man that I got to know in preparing for this interview and the pre-interviews. And you are an honest, brave guy that hasn't, in my opinion, lost his joy for life or his will for life, and in many ways you have, in my opinion, become a better human being, and maybe because of that, maybe a better painter. How would you, I ask usually describe yourself, but how would you describe yourself at this point, where you are right now, after the double stroke, after having lost your career? How would you describe yourself now?
I'll be super blunt about it. It's in this version of me, like, I have no room or time for negativity, for toxic people, for bullshit and drama. Like, I just don't have any interest in participating in that, because I'm on a clock, And so I really want to spend my time doing what I love, which is painting and drawing, making art. And so that's my focus,
When we were talking, you said something that I thought was so super dramatic, and I'm not going to use it because it sounded like a telenovela. But you described something that you had a realization about the end of days of painting.
Oh yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, when I had my self-imposed hiatus was like 12 years or something like that. And so when I came back to the art world, it was like coming back with the beginner's mind. You know what I mean? Like that fresh, it's a fresh look because you haven't been involved in it in so long. And I think, like, when I came back, I just noticed that, the gatekeepers were gone, the guard was changing, all that stuff is happening. But the real difference was in me, in the way that I saw those things, but also in the way that I sort of react or interact with them, and it's very much like, I'm painting for me. And if, everybody's welcome on the bus, but, like, I'm going my way with this stuff. And it's not painted for curators. It's not painted for corporations. It's painted for me. period, full stop. And so that's a really different place for me to be. And I think you're right. All the things that happened to me inform that. There's no question about it. I mean, it's when you lose something, it's sweeter when you get it back, you know?
I know we had one moment of conflict, which I'm going to bring because we ended up laughing about it. But I asked you, how do you use computers and AI in your art? And you
So I don't.
but you had a great line. What was it?
Yeah. Well, I'm one of the last of my types of artists, honestly. I mean, there's not going to be a following generation that I don't think, you know. And so, at least the way I see it today. But like if you wanted to encapsulate it, it's really like I've never used a computer in any of the work created. I've created no digital footprint at all. It's made by my hands, by me.
Well, the line you said to me is the only computer I have ever used to create art
Is my brain. Yeah.
Which I think that's such a great line, Mark.
It's true though.
That should be on your business card because it's really the more I think about it, I don't think many artists can say that anymore, especially not the artists that have been working in the last 20 years or are starting now.
Agreed.
AI and computers will be part of it.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And there'll be interesting things that happen because of that. But there's something really beautiful about just it coming out of a person. You know, there's something really wonderful about that. And if that weren't true, you know, art wouldn't be what it is. Like, that's the value of art to me. It's like you get to see the world through someone else's eyes, you know?
You know, I always ask the artists if they have a golden nugget, which means any particular saying or anything that they've learned on this journey so far that kind of encapsulates, you know, themselves, their theories, whatever. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think it's, if I was going to sum it up, I would say, you know, I read, you know, I broke, I learned, and I laughed. And then, you know, I'd say like, you know, life's just too short for drama, you know, and you just got to live every fucking day to the max, you know?
I guess my last question to you is, at this point, considering everything that happened to you, you could be bitter as hell. Why not?
I'm just not that kind of person, I guess. I mean, I'm so grateful, you know, to be where I am in the world that it just, it would be, I couldn't not be grateful with everything that's happened. And bitterness is just not my jam, you know? And I learned in the earlier days that negativity, all that stuff, that's not useful for me. It's not something I can tap into for artistic reasons, and it's not something I want or have in my life anymore.
You know what? I want to say this to the audience, to you. Your story makes me happy.
Oh, that's great, man.
You know, the event that we're going to have with you is going to be really interesting on many levels. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
I enjoyed it as well, Boris. Thank you. Thank you for the time.